Today, I decided to torture myself once again and play the Demon Souls PS5 remake until I beat it, without using magic or heavy armor. You may have seen my previous video where I played Sekiro for 24 hours, but I was not able to beat the game, and I will probably need 48. Demon Souls was the first game made in the Soulsborne series. The original Demon Souls came out in 2009 on PS3, but I like pretty graphics, so I'll be playing the remake on the PS5. Starting off, I had to create my character, so I went with a Temple Knight, as I will be building a strength build, solely for one weapon. I tried my best to model my character off of my real-life looks, and then found out I was Boletaria's final hope against the demons. I got started on the tutorial, where I got my ass whooped. And woke up in the Nexus laying next to Maiden in Black. And she was mending me back to life. I met with some other people in the Nexus and learned about the Arkstones, which allowed me to travel from world to world. So I headed into the first level, 1-1. And upon my arrival, I fell into a hole. And then I made my way up to the top of the castle, dying a couple times, and unlocking a shortcut. I finally made my way towards a bridge where I first encountered the Red Dragon. But this time, he was able to help me deal with a group of baddies. And then I died, and one thing about Demon Souls is the runbacks are insane, so I spent the rest of the hour trying to get back to where I was. I hate my life. I spent the next 30 minutes trying to get back to the bridge with the dragon, and when I finally got there, I pulled a mysterious lever that opened a huge castle gate at the beginning of the level. I also made sure to open the other, quicker shortcut right away. Now that the main gate was open, I could start the first boss fight of the game versus the Phalanx, which is incredibly easy once you figure out it's weak to fire. I was able to beat this boss in my first try with some pine resin and my great axe. I was then transported back to the Nexus where I triggered a cutscene that allowed me to progress the game. This is where I messed up though, as I had completely forgotten about world tendency up to this point. And yeah, whoops. But I didn't need anything in this world for pure white, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I spent the rest of the hour trying to progress to 1-2, but had some trouble. Hour 3 started off with me meeting the Red Dragon again, and trying to deal with him. I spent this whole hour trying to get through the worst goddamn runback of Souls history, holy where I start off running from the dragon, then going to the dungeon, and dealing with some annoying ass dogs, only to come back up and deal with a shitload of archers, and the dragon again followed by more archers and two fucking big knight dudes until I can attempt the boss. At least this boss fight is easy. I gave up on that run back and grinded some souls on 4-1 for the next hour. I did this so that the run back would be much easier, and it definitely worked. This also allowed me to upgrade my soul to level 10 and get my bow upgraded. For hour 5, I had perfected this run back and was able to make it to the boss fight about 80% of the time, and ended up beating the Tower Knight, as thankfully he isn't too hard. Although we did kill each other at the same time, which had me scared.
Killed him! I killed him! Bro! What happens now?
I made the run back to the Tower Knight for the last time to confirm that I did in fact kill him.
Oh shit.
Where I was able to collect his soul and travel back to the Nexus to off myself like I was supposed to be doing. I upgraded some more with the souls from the boss fight, and decided to finish the hour off by killing that annoying red dragon. I probably should have done this while I was still struggling with the boss run back, but Yeah, he dropped a hefty amount of souls and allowed me to level up even more, so... I started hour 7 and realized I messed up my world tendency on world 1. So I went to 2-1, as world 2 is the only world I was really concerned about having full white tendency on. You'll see why later. This world consisted of fighting my way through mines and having to switch my weapon to a pierce weapon, as that is what these guys are weak to. It only took me a couple of tries to unlock the shortcut, which in turn gave me access to the better blacksmith to upgrade my great axe that I got earlier from this level. Using this shortcut, I got to the 2-1 boss, the armor spider, with ease and beat him on the first try in a totally legit way. Hour 8, I started on world 3-1 and had to deal with these weird blood-sucking octopi. This level was extra confusing and disorienting because of how dark it was. I needed to find different keys to unlock these shortcuts, but eventually I made it to the giant spear gun that I had to roll past. After disabling it, I was right outside of the boss arena, but of course I got stuck fighting this broken NPC. I finally beat the NPC and got through to the boss fight versus the Fool's Idol. Which was one of the easiest bosses in the game, which I feel like I've said about every boss so far. But I had to fight her 3 times because I forgot about the little mage guy doing spells to keep her alive, no matter how many times I killed her. So I took care of him and finally finished her off, and used the souls I gained to upgrade my bow to level 7. I moved on to world 4-1, where I utilized the Great Club, since my strength was now at a soft cap of 30. The club made this area much easier, as I was able to one-shot most enemies. I also traded a talisman to a bird for a colorless demon soul, which would allow me to upgrade the best strength weapon in the game that I will be getting soon. I progressed through the level until I ran into some trouble at the cliffside dealing with the golden skeletons and the giant sky stingrays. After getting past them, I came up to the boss fight versus the adjudicator, and was able to beat him using my bow by shooting the little bird on his head and without having to worry about being hit. I used the souls from beating him to upgrade my vitality and my endurance. Hour 11 I spent farming souls and working on upgrading my weapons and buying more items. While doing so, Patches kicked me into a well. The only reason I didn't retaliate is because he sells some good items later on. He got lucky. I finally got started on 5-1, where I would have to descend down a cave while fighting dudes with fire sticks. I ran into a filthy woman who was selling very useful items, so I bought some black pine resin. I kept moving forward and found the boss, the leechmonger, and luckily the pine tar I had just bought made this fight very easy. After this boss, I headed to the Nexus and did my usual upgrading and way of getting back to soul form. I upgraded my winged spear and spent the rest of this hour farming material that I would need to upgrade my axe, as well as getting a head start on world 2-2, where everything is weak to magic, which I'm not using, and resilient to physical damage, so it took a while. I continued through world 2-2 and made my way to the boss. It took me a couple of tries to figure out the Flame Lurker's weakness, and he was one of the harder bosses.
Damn!
But I was able to find out that if I used my bow, his fight would be much easier.
Quit jumping like that, dude. No, 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 don't get greedy, don't get greedy, don't get greedy, don't get greedy. Whew. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Okay, 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 okay.
After defeating him, I made sure to
Damn.
die in the Nexus so I could maintain pure white tendency in World 2, as the next thing to do was grab the best strength weapon in the game, the Dragon Bone Crusher. This weapon is located while fighting the final boss of World 2, the Dragon God. This boss fight is more of a gimmick fight, as all you need to do is make sure he doesn't see you, and then you're guaranteed to win. But it still took me a couple of tries. I spent hour 14 doing some chores around World 2 in order to upgrade my new bonk sword and finish upgrading my bow to a lava bow, which would be a much better alternative to the regular bow I had been using. In order to upgrade my sword, I needed colorless demon souls, and luckily I already had 2. Hour 15 I started on World 1-3 and fought my way deeper into the castle. This ended up being easier than most levels because of the weapon I had now. I also made sure to release a certain NPC from a jail cell, which would later allow him to help me in the boss fight that was coming up. After doing this and opening a shortcut, I was able to fight my way through everything and get to the Penetrator's Gate. Pause. Yes, that's the boss's real name. The intro to this boss fight is one of my favorites and makes the boss look intimidating, but if you have the NPC there to help, it really isn't that bad.
God.
And I was able to beat him on the first try. I finished off the hour with some more leveling and resetting my soul form. I started 3-2, which is one of the more confusing worlds, because you have to unchain a giant heart in the middle of the map in order to progress. But I was able to get the heart unchained after a bit of wandering around and killing a certain NPC that would do bad things if I left him alive. I died once in the middle of the run back, so I had to spend an extra 15 minutes just trying to get back to the spot to finish unchaining the heart. After that, it opened up a new way to go, which leads to the boss of this arena, the Man-Eaters. I struggled a bit with them, so I gave up for the time being and went to level up some more gear. Upgrading my gear helped a little bit, and I was able to take down the Man-Eater at the start of hour 17. I used the souls I got to upgrade some more and got straight into World 4-2, which was more difficult than normal because of these guys that shoot giant lasers at me. I finally made it to the boss arena and got scared when I saw the old hero boss.
That's terrifying.
But then realized he's blind, so it turned out to be super easy. After beating him, I warped around looking for another colorless demon soul and used that to upgrade my bone sword again. Hour 18 began right away with me fighting Storm King, the final boss of World 4, and using the sword I found in the level that sends lightning down to attack him. It only took me a couple tries to finish. At this point, I realized I forgot to fight the final boss of World 3, the Old Monk, which back in the day had the chance of being a real-life player, which is a cool concept, but I ended up getting a much easier NPC, since this game is pretty old.
Dude! Oh my god. Bro, I killed him. What?
I ended the hour with a little more farming to get some levels and upgrades on my weapons, as we are reaching the end of the game soon and there's no leveling once that happens. I spent the next hour dealing with World 5-2 and its poison swamp. I got very disoriented and ended up looking up where to find the boss fight, which helped tremendously. I got to the arena and beat the dirty Colossus, which didn't take too long.
First try.
Hour 20, I made quick work of the final boss in World 3, Maiden Astrana.
Bro.
She made me feel like a dick, and I kind of felt bad. Anyways, I quickly moved on to 1-4, the last level. I beat some NPCs that were honestly harder than some of the bosses and worked my way up past the blue dragon, where I found my guy from the penetrator fight helping me once again. I made it past the dragon and fought another NPC right below the elevator.
No.
I took the elevator up and finally met the final boss of the game. The Old King of Lant. This guy was definitely the most difficult boss, and I ended up fighting him for just under an hour.
Oh shit, dude.
I finally beat the Old King of Lant, and when I teleported to the Nexus, I found a giant hole in the middle that my maiden told me to jump into. This led me to the Old One, where I had to fight the king again. But this time, it was me fighting a mound of sludge, so it was much easier.
Don't you understand? No one wishes to go on.
Where am I going?
I was then given two choices: either let my maiden save the world, or kill her and take the throne myself. Obviously, I saved the world like a true Chad. And if you chose to kill the maiden, you're dead to me. If you guys made it this far, make sure to subscribe for more content like this, and let me know what game I should do, or what challenge I should attempt next.
Back into the lulling fog. Volataria was spared from the demons, but also lost its knowledge of the soul arts.